So here we are in my hotel room. Let me let people know where we are. We're all in my hotel room. Ah, that's crowded. It's been a day. And my head has been filled with all the craziness. And I can't keep up with the craziness, which is problematic to say the least. So the people know, now the people know where I am, what's happening. And I'm really just at a loss. I'm at a loss for really the day-to-day. You know, this is how I had a loss. Like, Ohio, right? This is how this sort of, I was just like, I have to do a thing, even though I'm traveling, I have to do a thing. I have to get this off my chest. So here I go with the getting off of the chest. What's going on, Ohio? Like, this is we see you, okay? Like, we get this is why, despite all of the red flags and all of the, really, this guy, all of that, this is why Kavanaugh is now a justice. Because they want to pass ridiculous laws in states that will then go to the Supreme Court and then federally be ruled okay. And this is, we know that this is not a surprise. You're not all pulling the rug out from under us. We see you. We get it. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that you're not thinking about. And I actually almost fell a victim to this. So I'm trying to find information on this 6-week heartbeat bill thing. North Dakota or one of the Dakotas tried to do it. I think Alabama tried to, I don't know. States have tried to do this. It doesn't get through. Maybe this time it will. I don't know. It'll be challenged. And then again, going up to the Supreme Court, and then who knows what Kavanaugh's going to do. I was like, I can't find the bill. I'm looking on like the Cleveland Reporter or whatever newspaper, trying to figure out what language, what exceptions. And then I realized it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it says, because anytime you're going to take away someone's medical decision-making autonomy, bad things happen. And that's a human rights violation. Period. The end. I don't care how you feel about abortion. I don't care how you feel about people having sex and getting knocked up and all of that horrible sex negative language. I don't care. You cannot revoke someone's bodily autonomy without violating, I don't know how many number of human rights, basic human rights. And then you get into, but the fetus is a human being. Get that. I totally get that. The fetus is a human being. The fetus does not have any intrinsic right to use my body without my permission. Just like any other existing entity on the planet does not get to use my body without my permission and my consent and my active consent and my consent that can be revoked at any time. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, let's say this bill goes through. Oh my God, horrible things. Because now what you've said is if you're pregnant, you don't get to make any decisions about your pregnancy. That's what this heartbeat bill in Ohio says. That's what any any law restricting access to abortion care. That's what any law says. But let's focus on this one for a second. Because now what you've done is you said that the fetus, the embryo, zygote, whatever, the pregnancy, that's what I say as a simplistic term, the pregnancy is now the priority because they are not equal. You cannot have the pregnant person and the pregnancy on the same plane. That is like two magnets that are of the same pole. They're gonna repel each other, right? They're either like this or they're like this. There's none of this. This does not happen. They are not equal. And that is by laws of physics and laws of reproductive biology. You don't get to have opinions on that. Like, I mean, you can, but they don't change reality. They don't change the laws of physics. They don't change how reproductive biology has worked for, existence. So the minute you say you can't terminate that pregnancy because the state has a vested interest in that human being, guess what you've done? Now you've said, by the by, pregnant person, we're calling the shots on your fetus. We're going to decide what happens. So when does this really come into play? Because the scenarios that people don't think about, for example, I tell this story all the time because it was horrifying to me and anyone who was involved. Person comes in, she's in labor. This is a desired pregnancy. She wanted to get pregnant. She was pregnant for 9 months. She's full term. She's in labor. She wants a healthy baby. The baby gets into fetal distress in labor. And you don't even need a medical degree to know this baby needs a C-section to come out alive, and it will not come out alive unless an emergency C-section is done. And the mother knew this. The patient knew this. We counseled her. She is of sound mind, can make her own decisions. And she declined a C-section. And I said to her, you will be delivering a dead baby vaginally if we do not do a C-section. And she said, that is God's will. Okay. I delivered a dead baby vaginally because that was her will. That was her autonomy. This bill gets passed, that goes out the window. We're forcing C-sections on people. We're forcing fetal surgeries on people. We're forcing vaccines on people. We're forcing the implications go beyond I'm 8 weeks pregnant and I wanted an abortion, I can't have one. Like, that's horrible enough. Super horrible, but they go beyond that. And what people don't understand is how far beyond that they go. So for all of you who are so concerned about having no abortions, look at the foster care system, first of all. You want to help kids? Help those kids. Why are there starving children in this nation? Start there. When you can do that and also eradicate the need for abortion care, I think, the need for abortion care will always be there because nature will give us anomalies that are not compatible with life. Okay, so abortion will always be needed. Period, the end, even in utopia, unless we genetically modify everybody. There's another rabbit hole that I'm sure will go down in the not so distant future. Sexual health education. It goes beyond penis and vagina with ejaculation and ovulation can equal baby. That's a 5-minute talk. We need sexual health education that talks about consent and what it is to have a healthy sexual relationship. Because you know what that's going to do? That's also going to help interpersonal skills. That's also going to help with intimate partner violence. It's also going to help reduce sexual assault crime. We need to be talking about sexual health as if it's a normal human behavior, because it is. And we need to stop pretending that we're in Victoria era, puritanical BS, non-science, negatively sexual ideologies that hurt people. These hurt people. When you shame sex, which is a natural human behavior, it hurts people. Of interest, speaking of sexual health and education, syphilis is on the rise. So yay us. Go to the CDC. I dare you. Go to their website. Look at syphilis. In the past 2 years, let's see, that's now, and then last year was 2017 and 2016. Syphilis has gone up drastically. Drastically. Guess what syphilis does? Causes miscarriages, also known as spontaneous abortions. You know what else it does? Really bad things to pregnant people who want healthy babies. Syphilis causes congenital infections, and it hurts the fetus. So, for all of your hoity-toity, sex is bad, blah, 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 don't talk about sex, don't talk about sexually transmitted infections, don't educate people. Well, now we've got syphilis on the rise. We're going to have bad pregnancies, spontaneous abortions with more miscarriages. We're going to have unhealthy babies with congenital syphilis because people in power, especially, think sex is bad. And at the same time, they want to save all the babies. Well, your sex negativity is hurting the babies. So help me, help us. I don't understand. And this is what I meant when I was ranting. Like, I can't anymore, because you can't say we're going to pass waiting periods for people to get an abortion because we want people to have time to make a decision. We want to make sure that they have time to get all the information they need. And then say, but you're going to have to get that abortion before you even know you're pregnant. So there's that. No rush about anything. We want you to take your time and make an informed decision. But I hope that you know that you're pregnant before you actually know that you're pregnant, because no, it doesn't work that way. So you want to control people's reproductive outcomes, that's for sure. That's undeniable. You want to control women's sexuality. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. You want to shame that sexuality so that they're not having sex, but only when you want them to have sex, right? So that you can control the whole like population thing. People are going to have babies. You don't need to tell them when to have babies and when not to have babies. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We have never had a population problem, even after the Civil War, the Spanish flu, the Roman Empire, and I don't know how far you want to go back. We've been fine. There's never been a Homo sapiens population scare on this planet. So you can't tell me that this anti-abortion stuff has anything to do with other than, and I'm going to be cis heteronormative, controlling women. You can't tell me otherwise. Not after all of this BS, because if you cared about babies, if you cared about unborn babies, you would want them to not get syphilis while they're in utero. You would want them to not get the other STIs, that you would not want them to get rubella in utero. You would not want them to be in intimate partner relationships where, you know, a pregnant person gets shoved down the stairs and then there's a placental abruption and the baby dies. Like, You would be invested in things like sexual health education, healthy relationship education, reducing intimate partner violence, reducing sexual assault, reducing rates of STI transmission. You would care about that stuff if you cared about unborn babies, because that's only reasonable. And so, yeah, so I was trying to find the wording of the Ohio bill, heartbeat bill, and I realized it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care how many exceptions they have, because what's going to happen is pregnant people are going to be forced to undergo medical interventions that they don't want because their autonomy will effectively be revoked. I don't get to do C-sections on someone if they tell me no. I am obligated, ethically, really. I mean, I guess I have the power to take someone to the operating room. I mean, it's a lawsuit and it's all this mess that I don't want to deal with, and it's not right in my heart. It's not right to do that. And if somebody tells me, I don't want a C-section, you cannot take me to the operating room, I understand that my baby will die if you don't take me. If they tell me that, I have to watch that monitor, I have to watch their baby die, and I have to deliver them vaginally. Maybe if I live in Ohio, that won't be the case. Maybe in Ohio, we're going to turn into Ireland, where doctors no longer know what their years of training mean because people without medical training are telling doctors what to do, which is also amazing to me. All of this stuff is like the Ohio bill, the Utah bill, laws. How many times have I been up on the Hill talking to legislators saying, this is not medicine? And the legislators saying, that's nice, and passing laws anyway. So why did I even bother going to college, going to medical school, going through 4 years of boot camp, also known as OBGYN residency? Why did I do all that? If it doesn't matter, if medical science and medical practice, in order to be a healthcare provider, you have to go through training, you have to get education, you have to go through a licensing process, you have to go through examinations, you have to do all of these things in order to even listen to someone's heart with a stethoscope and say your heart's fine. Something as benign as that, right? And yet you've got Kasich over here saying, we want to save 20,000 children every year, da 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 da. You don't know what you're talking about, because your heartbeat bill, these 20,000 children in utero, I don't know Ohio's foster care system, but what about, again, those children, Kasich? What about the children in your state who are starving, who have food scarcity, who don't have the education or the loving, stable home that they need? What about those kids? You can't just decide that recommendations from the American Medical Association, from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, that those mean nothing. You can't just decide that the World Health Organization, what they have to say is irrelevant when it comes to healthcare, right? Like, yeah, maybe building bridges in Cleveland, maybe you don't take advice from ACOG. That's reasonable. When making laws regarding reproductive health care for women, who else are you going to listen to but ACOG? That is the authority. You, Kasich, are not the authority. certainly not the authority of over physicians practicing in your state who are licensed to practice medicine. They're licensed for a reason because they follow guidelines. You're not following the guidelines. And I'm sick of it. Like, there are so many laws in Utah where I live and have worked really hard to not have passed and they have passed anyway, that contradict. Like, so in Utah, there's le.utah.gov. You can look it up. Search for abortion laws. You'll find them under crimes against the family. Gun laws you'll find under public health and safety. Anyway, they say that informed consent is required. They define Utah State Legislature, bills, the law, defines informed consent the same way that the American Medical Association defines informed consent. Guess what that definition includes? Factually accurate, medically accurate information. Keep on reading Utah law, and you will find all sorts of stuff that do not comply with that. So I don't understand. I just don't understand. Period. At the end, like, period. I don't understand. And I've been to a lot of school. These are things I should understand. So this is why I'm ranting, because it was really the straw that broke the camel's back was the, stumbling upon the rise in syphilis and the timeline. Again, cdc.gov. And how bad it is for pregnancy. Like, that's one of the infections that we obstetricians who care for pregnant people fear, because it can do really bad things to the fetus and the newborn. It can cause miscarriage. So, like, don't tell me in one breath we're not going to educate people about how to prevent sexually transmitted infections, and then in the other breath say we want all of the pregnancies to live and be born because we want all pregnancies to be healthy babies, when the not talking about the STIs is going to lead to unhealthy babies and bad things, including death in utero. You don't get your own, like, facts. Your beliefs don't get to dictate what the reality is. There's a reality that is, okay, so reality might not be the right word because that's an interpretation, but we go through training, we use evidence-based medicine to guide our clinical care of people. We don't just say, I feel this, and so I'm going to do that. Can you imagine what would happen if doctors did things because of how they felt? Now, granted, you'll say some doctors do that, actually. They do, and that is wrong. I disagree with that. My feelings get put aside. They get checked at the door, and I go in with my evidence and my clinical knowledge, and I talk to my patient and inform my patient of options and risks and benefits, and then my patient tells me what to do, how to help them, right? That's how that goes. Miss Goody Two Shoes. That's adorable. We need sexual health taught as early as possible in all schools. Yes. Age appropriate. And you don't have to call it sex ed. You don't have to call it even sexual health. Age appropriate relationship education. Like, bad touch, good touch. Like, kids, small children need to know when they're being inappropriately touched, right? Stranger danger, that sort of thing. Even though that whole stranger concept, not a good idea because it's usually somebody they know. So that goes out the window, right? Hey, Amy. Thank you. I so appreciate how you frame things to make logical sense. Thanks. I try. It's harder with each passing day because things make less and less sense. So age appropriate relationship education. So small kids knowing that they have personal space that needs to be respected, and in turn, they should respect other people's personal space. Does that mean they're going to go out and go have lots of sex? No. Like, we're in such a sex negative culture, we can't even talk about it like in an abstract way, age appropriately to our children. Now, that's not to say everybody. I know many parents who are starting those conversations early, and that's awesome. Keep it up. Talk to other parents about it, because we need that generation to save us, basically. Because I mean, I've got people who've been married for 30 years coming into my office saying, we don't know how to talk to each other about sex, help us. Now, granted, I live in Utah, and that's a whole nother thing, right? So why aren't we doing that? Why? I mean, we're like, the sexual oppression and sex negativity in our society has so much, like so many bad consequences. And we see it in our public health outcomes, like unplanned pregnancies, which can and do lead to abortions, like sexually transmitted infections, like intimate partner violence, like sexual assault. There were so many things on my mind today. I'm now losing track of what I wanted to rant about. But like, if we could just talk about sex in a normal, mature, healthy way, without shaming, without, calling women sluts or whores, and not seeing women as objects or things that just pop out human beings, we might actually have a chance at having a healthy, educated society. But you see, educated societies are harder to control. And that's what we're getting into. I'm not trying to fear monger, right? But this whole like Ohio bill, heartbeat bill thing, that was in the works. And again, that's why Kavanaugh was voted into the Supreme Court. Not because he's qualified, but because he'll do what is needed to control the health outcomes of women, basically. That and a bunch of other bigoted, right? Like the outcomes of many oppressed populations in our society, in our nation. He will ensure that bad things happen to them, basically, like that whole thing. I'm not trying to like conspiracy theory. I'm not trying to fear monger, but pay attention. That's all I'm saying. And I've been paying attention, and it's hard to pay attention because it's draining on you, and your emotions get low and your blood pressure gets high. But if you're not seeing the forest for the trees, that's not good. California is burning. And we're still talking about whether or not climate change is a thing. What does it take to actually make incentives to do things so that we stop killing the planet, which is the only planet we can live on? When? I mean, there are smart people working on this stuff, and they've been working on this stuff for decades. And they've been telling us for decades this is a thing. And yet people in power are just spinning it so that their own political and monetary interests are prioritized over the well-being of 8 billion people. And that does, like, that should piss you off. So when I say things like pay attention and Kavanaugh was put here so that these outcomes would happen, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just telling you what the forest looks like for the trees. This tree was put over here, and this tree was put over here, and we're getting a forest. So be sure to see what's happening, because this and this, it's not like I'm theorizing about the moon land. Like, that moon landing happened. Like, that, don't even get me started. Miss Goody Two Shoes. Yes, and we need to empower kids to speak up about abuse, and we need to believe them. Right. What are we telling children when we say, I don't know, can we believe Dr. Blasey Ford? I don't know. It was 30 years ago. What does she remember? What are we telling our children who are being abused, who are frightened of coming forward? We're telling them that we're not going to believe you. We're telling other people we're not going to believe you. How is that okay? How, in what world is it okay to minimize something as horrific as child abuse and sexual assault in that way? Those are some of the most heinous crimes that I can think of. And yet, our tendency is publicly still to say, I'm not sure, I don't know, can we believe that person? Can we believe that kid? I don't know. I mean, it's not okay. I'm not sure what you mean by birth control options, but yeah, that's another important part of education, right? I'm actually going to do a live stream next week about birth control options, and you all should tune in, call me with your, call me. Here's the thing. So I have a Skype thing, and it'll take a message, and you don't need to leave me your number or name. I don't care. You can tell me whatever you want. But if you have questions, whether in general, about medicine, about what flavor coffee I had that day, I don't know. That I probably won't answer that question, at least not in a decent amount of time. You should call me. I don't know. Oh man, can you see that? Is that a thing that you can see? So that's my Skype number, and you can leave a message, and I will. I will. Sorry that I'm not at home. The lighting is bad, but anyway, 801-610-6165. I will answer. I listen to the messages. I've had one message. That's why I've answered one question. So it's not terribly busy. Thank you, Miss Goody Two Shoes. It's not, apparently a very busy number. I'm surprised at how many responses I get on Twitter. So call me, leave a message. I'm going to do a live stream next week about birth control. I find it harder for me to do produced videos. I have so many ideas for produced videos where I sit down and I'm I have a plan of what I'm going to say. I'm not just off the cuff right now. I don't know why I'm miming everything. But they're really hard. It's hard for me to edit them because I don't really know how to do that. I do basics, as you've seen. Graphics, I have ideas in my head what I would love to put on the videos to make them fun and interesting. I don't know how to do that so well. It takes me 12 hours to get 20 minutes. So I'm finding it hard to do produce videos. I'm sorry, Amy Blue, and I'm going to just read for a second. Right. So, yeah, I mean, Amy is kind of expressing what I've been expressing, which is you don't get to just make stuff up. You don't get to just decide that your feelings are what matter more than the actual evidence that exists in the world of a thing. There's a scientific method for a reason. That's why this channel is subtitled Where Facts Inform Opinion. Like, I don't just splurt things out because of my feelings. I've researched, I've thought about it, I've been educated on a number of levels on a number of things. Not everything, obviously. But I don't come out here and proselytize. I tell you what the facts are, and you can come up with your own opinion. That's great. But I'll tell you mine, and mine are based on the factual information that I have taken in, looked up, researched, whatever. And I'm trying to share with all of you. I hate Facebook. Do I have a Facebook page? I could go Facebook Live. I know. I can actually do this live on my phone too. It's just, being wherever and lighting, and I find the same thing with Facebook Live. I hate Facebook. I don't know. I've always hated Facebook. I've been on Facebook like 3 times because I always quit and I just can't. So I'm just doing this. I know more people use Facebook, but I'm stubborn, as anybody who knows me knows. So next week, because I should probably stop, we're getting on 40 minutes here. And now my blood pressure is coming back down because I've stopped talking about Ohio. Oh, no, there it goes again. Next week, I want to do a birth control sort of Q&A. Call me, 801-610-6165. Leave me a message, a question about birth control. I'm going to go through sort of just a general basics, but then you can text in your questions or on Twitter. Let me check the Twitters and see if there's any questions on the Twitters. And then, I'm just, as some of you I'm sure know, you're still waiting for a response from me from my website, and I'm actually making a new one that's more reasonable and user-friendly. So that'll be fun. But I'd like to at least answer those questions because I feel like there are a lot of questions that are easily answered, but not easily obtained because people are busy and they don't have doctors because they don't have health insurance because the guy is in the White House and appointing horrible people to healthcare system appointments. Oh, that's not okay. So no questions on the Twitters. So I'll do that, and I'll let you guys know when that's going to be. Hopefully, it's probably because it's Thanksgiving coming up. Yay, oppressive white men. Okay. So fun. But I love turkey so much. So I've had a long day. Can you tell? My hair. Wee. So it might be Saturday, when people have done the holiday stuff and they're settled down and they're back home, but they're not really worried about work and they blah, blah, blah. So it'll probably be Saturday that I do a live stream about just birth control and education there. People have sent a lot of questions about the pill Minastrine. Apparently, I never prescribed Minastrine, but looks like a lot of people have a lot of problems with it. So maybe I can answer some of those in one felt swoop and help some folks out. So, Amy, is the phone number only? No, the phone number is not only for birth control questions. The phone number is to leave me a message about questions about anything. The one question I received so far and I answered was about dildos and what they're made of. So that was fun. But my idea was that people would call this number, leave messages, and then on a Tuesday or every Tuesday, depending on how many, right? If it's a regular thing that people do, then I can dedicate time and actually answer those questions. I'm still figuring this out, but people aren't calling, so it's hard for me to figure out. I realize that opens the door for people to call and leave me all sorts of messages, right? I get that. I'm not worried about that. If you've seen my Twitter feed, you know I'm not worried about it. But that's why this phone number is a Skype number. Like it's not my cell phone. But I still look at it and I will listen to the messages. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have, my areas of expertise are obviously OBGYN stuff, but also like sexual health in general, any political things that might be going on, obviously abortion and abortion care. Yeah, you know, I mean, people who know me here kind of know me, and I can talk about coffee. I like coffee. I like my coffee mugs. I can talk about travel. Let's talk about Australia. Hello, Australia. What time is it in Australia? I don't know what time it is. Oh, I think Australia is sleeping right now. Frustration of denial in science, self-fear. Oh yeah, the HPV vaccine. Get the HPV vaccine. Kids need it. They're not going to have sex because you give it to them. They're not going to have sex because you protect them from cancer. Period. The end. Miss Goody Two Shoes is an Ohioan. No, this way. It's tiresome. Yes. Thank you. You have a good rest of the weekend too. Everyone have a good rest of the weekend. I will be back at you probably next Saturday. What's today? Today is Saturday. Haha. When I've digested things. And be well, be good to each other. Use science, respect facts. I'll see you later. Bye.